everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Coaching Call podcast. On this podcast, we'll cover various types of coaching by trainers in sports, martial arts, fitness, and business. We'll discuss each coach's methods to getting the most out of their respective athletes or clients and how they attempt to change the platform in which they coach. Join us on a fun adventure as we discuss unique coaching styles. Coaching is a universal part of how we get others to get something done. Join your host, Rafael, and his guests on this unique journey in coaching.
Hi, I'm Sifu Rafael, and this is the Coaching Call podcast. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. This episode was made possible by listeners like you. Good morning, Lama. How are you? Happy Monday.
Hi, Sifu Rafael. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So one of the things that this is almost like a pop-up type of interview. Normally, I don't do these at this time, but I figured it was important to talk to you because there's so many incredible things that you are doing in the world, and I definitely I'm happy to be part of it. By the way, I want to get to this is an hour long, so we're going to have such a great time getting to know who you are and why you do what you do. So tell me, where were you born and who influenced you before the age of 10?
I was born in the former Soviet Union in the country called Ukraine. Back then, it was not a country, it was one of the Soviet republics. Gotcha. And obviously, Ukraine is very well known these days thanks to the war that Russia started against Ukraine. I'm half Russian, half Ukrainian. So to me, the entire affair doesn't make any sense. However, I grew up in the city of Kharkiv, which is right on the border between Russia and Ukraine. And my earliest influence that really propelled me along this path that I've been on for the last 50 years was my grandfather. He was a Qigong master, a grandmaster of the style called Qi Dao. Well, we call it Qi Dao these days. Back in the old times, it was called True Hor. It's a Tibetan term which stands for energy art. Same thing as Qigong in Chinese. Unfortunately, True Hor doesn't sound great to an English-speaking ear. If you tell them, what do you teach? Oh, I teach True Hor. They'll be like, I don't want to study that. So I basically use the Chinese term Qi Dao, which means the path of energy or the flow of energy. And so that has been something I've been studying for most of my life. My grandfather started teaching me some basics at a rather young age of 6.
Wow, nice.
And I continued until I was 18 when I joined the Soviet military and served in special forces for a couple of years. And ever since then, basically, I've been dedicated to practicing and teaching what I learned back from my grandfather, but also from a number of Qigong and martial arts masters and meditation teachers and spiritual teachers who I've come across over the years.
Incredible. So how did your grandfather learn this? Do you know his story?
Yes, he learned it from his dad, who was at that time the lineage holder. So basically, it's been in my family for many generations.
That's incredible. The fact that it's staying down in the generations of your family, that's pretty incredible.
As I mentioned, I'm half Russian, half Ukrainian. So on my father's side, the Russian side, my family came from the Altai region, just smack in the very geographical center of Asia, in the Altai Mountains, in border between Russia and China and Kazakhstan. So it's basically the place where the Tibetan Buddhism and Tibetan shamanism are still practiced. There are actually 3 areas in Russia that are traditional Tibetan Buddhist countries.
Wow,
One
incredible.
is Kalmykia in the European part of Russia. Another one is Buryatia, which is in Transbaikalia near the Baikal Lake, just north of Mongolia. And the other one is the Altai, where my family came from, and that's where it's still practiced to this day.
Incredible. I've been studying Tibetan martial arts myself for quite some time. Um,
Marvelous.
and,
That's why we're here.
and when I told you the name of the style that I actually do, it's kind of interesting because the name of the style that I do is called Tibetan Lama Pai, and your name is Lama. So I guess we're connected somehow. Right?
We're all connected.
Absolutely.
Dream, and we're dreaming each other up.
Mhm.
You are, in a sense, a dream character in my dream,
Yeah,
and you dream me up as your dream character.
that's it. When you talked about you studied with your grandfather until you're 18, then you studied with other masters and so forth in
Yes.
Qigong. Um, when did you realize that this was such an important aspect of who you are that you continued with the lineage, right, that's been passed down to you? And when did you start helping other people learn it?
When I was serving in the military, I was in sergeant school for the first 6 months. And then for another 6 months, I stayed at the sergeant school as a drill sergeant.
Mm.
Nowadays, very few people think of me as a drill sergeant, but yeah, I can be pretty tough.
I
um,
getcha.
uh, and then I started complaining to my superiors
Mm.
because I thought it was really stupid what we were doing. We were training our cadets some not very functional martial art moves. I
Mm.
mean, nowadays, who pokes somebody with a bayonet and hits
Right,
them with the butt of the rifle? That's just really not suitable to modern warfare. And
correct.
so, as I was bringing it up to my commanding officers, they were like, "Oh, you don't want to stay here? Well, we'll ship you out to action." So basically, I spent another year serving in action. I was actually doing bodhisattva work,
Mm.
search and rescue
Gotcha.
in Afghanistan. At the end of the war, there were some soldiers and officers that were missing in action, or they were captured as the POWs, or they were just stuck and they couldn't figure out how to get out of that country.
Mm.
And so we went there behind enemy lines and rescued them.
Mm.
And that was the time when I also had some near-death experiences. That's also when I realized that I didn't want to work for the government. Prior to my military service, I went to school for career diplomat training.
Mhm.
So I was planning on following the path that was suggested to me by my parents.
Right.
They said, "Oh, you're interested in exploring the world. Well, explore the world at the government's dime. Become a diplomat, and they will send you all over the world to see what else is going on around this planet."
Mm.
And so I was following that path, and I studied in the career diplomat school, the Institute of International Relations. But then um, they changed the law.
Mm.
Prior to that, the students at the higher education institutions were not drafted into the military. But the war in Afghanistan was not going well. And so they decided we are going to draft the students. But since they seem to be a little bit more intelligent, they kind of go for higher education, we'll give them a chance to become sergeants. So basically, that's how
That's
I
how
ended
you
up
go.
in the sergeant school. And when I came back from the military service, I was like, what am I supposed to do with my life now?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to, and also the country was falling apart.
Right.
That was the time when Soviet Union was kind of crumbling and disassembling, and so I was like, no, there's no country I want to represent as a diplomat.
Mm.
So I basically focused my education and got a degree in anthropology. But even when I was studying in an institute called Harkiv Collegium, where I went to after military service, I was like, I I don't understand why there is no physical education in
Mm.
this entire university.
Right.
So I talked to the rector or the president of the university, and he said, "We just don't have the PE teacher." I said, "Well, you know what? I don't have PE education, but I'm very experienced in training people.
Mhm.
So why don't you hire me, but don't pay me anything? I
Mm.
will work in exchange for my tuition." So
There you go.
basically, that was a kind of a self-arranged um, student
Barter. It was
scholarship.
a barter system. Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
Scholarship. Yeah, I just arranged a scholarship for myself. Bartered physical education, which basically boiled down to training people in kung fu and other martial arts. I studied kung fu. I studied karate. I studied taekwondo. I studied tai chi, muay thai, Aikido, basically anything from the most internal to the most external.
Right. Right.
And that's our approach in Qi Dao, that you don't just study one thing and think that this is the best thing since sliced bread. Develop the breadth of knowledge and then go into depth of knowledge. So basically, I started by exploring a variety of different styles and different schools, but then also went into depths. So I got a black belt in Aikido.
Mm.
I started practicing and teaching Tai Chi and became a Qigong master. By master, I mean I started healing people. I also was teaching classes and helping people develop to a higher level of their own energy mastery. And when I moved to the United States, I basically that's what I started doing for a living. I was like, I'm in a new country. I was a refugee back then. I received religious asylum in the US. The first Tibetan Lama from Ukraine to get a religious asylum in the United States. And so I was like, okay, I'm in a new country. I was 25 years old in 1995. And so I was like, what am I supposed to do now? So I started teaching what I knew and um, basically established Academy of Qi Dao in Portland, Oregon in 2000. And then also created Portland Qigong Clinic. So for a number of years, I was doing Qigong as a therapy. And eventually I realized, you know what? People heal when and to the degree that they're ready to heal.
Right.
And no amount of therapeutic intervention is going to help the person if they're not ready. But when they are ready,
yeah,
when they are ready, they experience spontaneous remission. They experience miraculous healings. Basically, that's the insider job to heal.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's when I also started developing this new profession of Qigong coaching. By studying with a number of different coaches, started with Michael Hall and his meta coaching, and anyone from Tony Robbins to Brendon Burchard, Bill Barron, and quite a few other coaches.
And so that's how you started your coaching when you realized when you got your asylum here in the U.S., right? That was in 1995.
Well, I came to the U.S. in 1995 got asylum in 97. It took a couple of
90s.
years to
Okay.
go through the paperwork, jump through some hoops.
But so then in
And
2000 that's when you started coaching, right? When you realized that, when did you
not
start?
quite. I traveled around. I lived on the East Coast. I lived in the West Coast. I lived in Hawaii um, for a couple of years. And then I moved back stateside. And basically, that's when I ended up in Portland. And I kind of liked Portland. And that's where I established the Academy of Qi Dao, which became my main business ever since.
Mm.
And then a year or two later, I created Portland Qigong Clinic. So I was doing Qigong therapy for a few years. And over the course of these years, I was noticing how people would experience amazing breakthroughs right before my eyes in the process of receiving Qigong therapy sessions. But then they would go home and I would see them again a week or two later, and they almost always backslid.
Mm.
And I was like, well, did you do any of the meditations they prescribed? Oh, no, I forgot.
Yeah.
Well, did you implement any of those lifestyle changes that I recommended? Oh, no, I had some friends coming from out of town. No, I didn't do it. Well, did you pay any attention to your postural alignment at least?
Mm.
Oh, no, I didn't do that either. So basically, I realized that people are less likely to do that which they did not decide to do. Somebody else decided for them.
Correct.
And I was like, well, so they need to become internally motivated. They need to actually want and desire and commit to making changes. Nobody is going to do it for them. It's like you take horse to water, but can't make it drink.
That's right. Is that is
I started
so?
looking, searching
Go
high and
ahead.
low for some kind of modality that would help achieve that. So I studied anything from acupressure to hypnosis and NLP and a variety of other modalities. And nothing was really motivating people from within until I found coaching. I realized, oh, wait a moment. Coaching actually is that modality that helps people develop inner motivation.
Right.
Now, the question is, how do you integrate it with the Qigong that I was teaching? And so I started asking people. I was involved in National Qigong Association at that time, and I was asking people on the board and other folks who were the thought leaders, well, what do you know about this? Do you know anyone who practices Qigong coaching? And everyone was like, what are you talking about? No, we don't do that. I was like, okay, fine. I'm going to create this new profession of Qigong coaching, integrating the ancient energy arts with the modern coaching methodologies of peak performance and high performance coaching.
I love how you integrated, you would say the Eastern with the Western, right? Because
Yeah.
when we can mix that ideology or that method, it brings so much, I would say, nourishment for the mind and the body, right? And what would you say is a key ingredient that any coach should understand when it comes to being an incredible coach?
That coaching is not the same thing as teaching.
Mm.
Many coaches fall back or default to teaching. Many of them have teaching background or
Mhm.
therapy background. And so I often see coaches, especially when they do group coaching programs, they basically default to teaching. And coaching is not teaching. Coaching is not just downloading information into the client's brains and expecting them to do what you tell them to do.
Right.
That's totally different approach. So the key that everyone who is involved in coaching needs to really be clear about is that coaching is not about downloading information. It's about inspiring the coaching clients to discover what is true for them, develop authentic awareness of their values, of their purpose, of what it is that they are really committed to, and then create their authentic strategies for manifesting that which they commit to manifesting. And then, of course, the coach helps them develop those strategies and, most importantly, helps them by providing accountability to make sure that they do what they say they will do.
Absolutely. When we look back, even 10, 20 years ago, there was not as many coaches back then as there is today. And it has grown to be probably one of the fastest growing industries. And there's no regulation as to someone becoming a coach. People
Right.
can say, I'm certified on this, that, the other, but there's no real regulation. Why are so many coaches not great or successful?
For that
When
exact reason.
right, because they're not getting deeper into the modality of working with the individual from the internal to the external, right?
Yes, exactly. A lot of coaches who are in the business of training other coaches make money just by teaching other people how to become coach.
Right.
In other words, it's kind of like a diploma mill of sorts. Like you said, it's an unregulated profession. So you don't even have to be certified. You can just hang the shingle of being a coach and pronounce yourself to be a coach of some sort. The trick about it is that many people feel inadequate. And so they procrastinate or they hold back or they're not committed to actually jumping fully into the coaching pool, so to speak. And so those are usually collecting a lot of certifications without actually doing the work.
Right.
But then there is also the other extreme of people jumping into doing the work without having the knowledge, expertise, and skills. So basically, these two are really funny dynamics. The
Correct.
dynamic of not trusting oneself enough or not giving themselves the permission to do something, and the other ones who give themselves permission without knowing what they're doing.
Right. Yeah.
So finding the sweet spot, the balance point between these two is as challenging as it's connecting the East with West. Rudyard Kipling said the East and West, they shall never meet. Well, so these two extremes also are very, very popular in coaching and many other professions. What is crucial is to find the balance point between being too confident and thinking, okay, I'm really ready. I'm going to go and conquer the world.
Right.
On one hand. And on the other hand, just keeping collecting training and never actually putting it to good use. So I think that is basically the challenge for most coaches, and also the lack of training in how to do business as coaches.
Right.
In my school, I dedicate the same amount of time to business development as I spend training people in the modality of Qigong coaching. Because I don't want to just produce more Qigong coaches. I want to produce more successful Qigong coaches.
Right.
I want people to make a living doing what I teach them to do, not just have a title or just spend some time and money learning it without putting it to good use.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your thoughts on a coach who doesn't have a coach? Because for me personally, I have mentors, I have coaches um, who I can share ideas with, or they can I can tell them I'm thinking about this, and then they'll guide me a little bit. Also, mentors who have done it, have lived it. Um, One of my oldest mentors is 82 years old, and the man is just
Mhm.
brilliant, right?
Right.
Um, but that's for me personally, that's the kind of coach I want. Somebody who is um, in the game, who is being coached, who is doesn't know all the answers always, right? Because I don't want a coach who knows all the answers, right? Because they stop growing for me personally. What are your thoughts?
I 100% agree.
Mm,
There is no pinnacle of personal development. Anyone who claims to have reached a level of mastery where they just don't need to master anything anymore,
right.
they're full of shit. In other words,
Yeah.
they are not really continuing the journey. They just got stuck somewhere on the plateau.
Mm,
We don't want to receive coaching from those people who are stuck because they won't help us get unstuck. You can't give that which you don't have. So, just like you said, every coach needs to have a coach. I
mm,
have a coach. I had a coach back in the States. Now I moved to Denmark. I hired a Danish coach. Basically, wherever I go, I always learn more things. I always continue growing, continue developing myself. There is no end to this journey. We are not on the journey to mastery. We are on the journey of mastery.
mm,
The journey of mastery means each and every step is a continuation of the process of becoming more and more masterful. And
right.
as you progress along the path, the challenges don't become any less.
Oh
As you
no.
progress along the path, you encounter greater and greater challenges. It's just like if you're a first grader, what's the math challenge that you're going to be given?
Mm,
1 + 1 = 2, something like that. Now go to the second grade, it's going to be more challenging.
right.
Go to the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, go to 10th grade. Well, they're going to be dealing with a lot more complicated math
Mm,
problems.
correct.
They don't get any simpler. They keep becoming more complicated.
Mhm,
You go to college, it's not going to get any easier. You go to graduate school, it's not going to get any easier. Go to post-grad school, it's not going to get any easier. Basically, it's like an ongoing journey of improvement.
mhm.
If we are not improving, we're backsliding.
That's right.
So those coaches who do not continue growing basically stagnate. Who wants to receive coaching from a stagnating coach?
No. Not me.
You have to walk a good walk, not just talk a good talk, right?
That's right, without a doubt. For me, it's always that's why I'm in the trenches. Because for me to be able to help anyone in the world, um, I have to be in it, right? I can't just say it from theory, right? Because theory is great, but action speaks louder than words for me, right?
For
Um,
sure. I
with
totally agree with you,
yeah,
with one exception. I
go
want
ahead.
to help everyone in the world.
Oh yeah, you
I
want to help
promised myself a
those
long
who
time
want to
ago,
be. Yeah,
I will only work with coachable people.
that's
I can't work
otherwise.
with uncoachable people.
Yeah, that's you beating yourself against the wall when you're trying to help somebody who doesn't want the help, right? Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
And
No,
so
that's
what determines the coachable person? What are the characteristics of coachability?
mm,
Well, it's motivation, intrinsic motivation. It's the openness and curiosity to learn,
mhm.
and ability to take responsibility for your experiences. There probably are a few other characteristics of coachability, but
Mm,
these are important ones without which I would not accept the person as my coaching client. And
correct.
nowadays, I don't accept a lot of people as my coaching clients because I charge a lot of money. So I much rather farm them out to my students or apprentices who are happy to take him on as coaching clients.
Right.
And I'm happy that they are doing a good work. And I am busy training the new generation of Qigong coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And also do another thing. When I moved to Denmark, I created a new startup
You
called
did.
Resilience Center.
Mm.
Because when I moved to Denmark, I noticed this is like one of the happiest countries in the world on paper.
On paper.
But everyone complains about being stressed, about being burned out. They're taking year-long sabbaticals from work, and they ask them, when are you going to go back to work? Oh, I don't know if I'm going to go back to work. Maybe I'm going to get retired. I'm like, aren't you kind of young to get retired? In Denmark, you can get retired at a young age if you can't work.
Right.
Why can't you work? It's too stressful. I'm not kidding. I had conversations, dozens of conversations with people, and almost everyone I've ever spoken to mentioned at least one episode of burnout in their personal career. I'm like, why are people getting burned out? Aren't they like really resilient? You know, the tough, the offspring of Vikings. Well, thousands of years ago, when Vikings raped and pillaged most of Europe, they were tough as nails.
Right.
But things changed since then. For thousands of years or so, there's been relative peace. I mean, there were some skirmishes here and there, but Denmark has lived relatively peaceful existence, just like many other countries where they literally had no significant wars, no natural disasters either. I asked people here, so how often do you get storms? Well, we don't really get any storms. Well, not even like hurricanes or like tornadoes. They're like, well, what's tornado? Well, don't you get some tsunamis? No, we don't get any tsunamis. Well, obviously no volcanic eruptions because there are no volcanoes. The whole place is like flat as a pancake. Well, so don't you get some flash floods? No, we don't have any flash floods. Ice storms? No ice storms. Mudslides? No mudslides. Basically, no natural disasters. Very
That's a
little
great
crime.
place to live.
It's a fantastic place to live.
Yeah.
But if you grow up in this situation where everything is just really peaceful and easy, as they put it themselves, they get fat and happy. They're not really fat. They all bicycle around, so they're kind of skinny. But a lot of people suffer from stress. And I was wondering, why is this so? I kept coming to Denmark because I exfiltrated my parents from Ukraine when the war broke out there and helped them settle down in Denmark. And then also kept coming back and helping some other Ukrainian refugees. And basically, I kept traveling to Denmark over the course of the last 3 years, like 6 or 7 times. And every time I was so puzzled, why are people so stressed? They're living really comfortable existence. This is a welfare state. If you don't feel like working, you just don't work. And then I realized they don't have a lot of resilience. That muscle doesn't get much training. And if you don't use it, you lose it.
Lose it. Absolutely.
And
One of
so
the things
I created a resilience center.
I love it. I love it. One of the things that somebody asked me not too long ago, they said, "Are you afraid that AI is going to take over your job?" And I have my answer, but I'd love to hear yours. How is AI going to affect coaching? How is it going to affect industry and overall, but mostly coaching, right?
Well, obviously, I can speak for coaching industry a lot more intelligently just because I'm in the trenches. As a matter of fact, my new startup is AI forward startup. We are creating AI based solutions in resilience training, in coaching. Yes, AI will replace a lot of coaches. especially the ones that are not particularly good. It's really hard to replace a particularly good coach with AI, because what we do as coaches, and I believe what we do is something really unique in coaching profession. So we have a really good chance of surviving the onslaught of AI revolution, is we teach embodiment.
Yeah.
AI doesn't have any knowledge of embodiment. I communicate with AI. I work with several different AI platforms. I use AI every day in my business. And I often go through some kind of research and development with AI, but it's not really helpful in terms of doing anything embodiment related.
Right.
It just doesn't have the experience.
Mhm.
It can collect the data, but it doesn't know what it's like to be in the human body.
Mhm.
And it may have anatomy and physiology theory. AI can read the textbook on anatomy, but it doesn't know what it's like to actually feel the movement.
Mhm.
It doesn't know what it's like to be balanced or not balanced. It doesn't know what it's like to breathe one way or another way. Basically, it doesn't have the depth of the physical embodied experience that is not only essential for humans to have, but it's also the cornerstone of my coaching modality.
Mm.
I don't just coach from the head.
Right.
I engage the entire body in the coaching process, use it as a metaphor, and engage the coaching client to learn how to use their body in most efficient and intelligent way.
Right.
So that becomes a totally different type of coaching compared to most styles of coaching, and also something that is very, very unlikely that AI will be able to replicate.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen it too, and probably most people watching, they've seen how they have AI robots doing martial arts. They're doing flips now. They're doing all these crazy, and it looks pretty incredible. And so that's the question I was asked. They said, in a few years, you won't be able to teach the classes you do because AI, they'll just go to a robot and it'll teach them, especially if they start buying these Tesla robots and so forth. They can learn at home. Uh, why do people even need to do martial arts anymore? Because if they get a robot, that's the security guard. They're going to take care of the
Bodyguard,
kids. They're going to wash the dishes. They're going to do the laundry. So
wipe the ass.
why are you so passionate about what you do? I said, because no one can replace the human interaction. That's my answer. The human interaction that I have with my students, no robot could ever do that. No robot can truly care, can see how they walk in, how you feeling, why do you look sad, or why are you so happy? What's going on with your life? So there's none of that going on if a robot is going to do it. I mean, robots can probably learn how to look and see somebody's ideas, but they're not going to fully understand it, like you said.
Well, they don't have the robot, at least the ones that currently exist, don't have the embodied experience. Yeah,
Mhm.
you can have two arms and two legs operating mechanically and making some
Right.
moves, but it's not the experience of being alive. What we study and practice is how to become more fully alive. And there's no life without movement. So we learn how to move in a way that facilitates the sense of aliveness.
Mhm.
We develop kinesthetic awareness, the awareness of movement, without which you can't really develop a gracefulness, precision, and power as in Kung Fu or any other martial arts. But you also need to experience some pain
Right.
and suffering, which robots are not going to experience the same way as humans.
Mhm.
Why is it important? Because it gives you the full spectrum of experience. It
Mhm.
also triggers certain neurotransmitters and hormones that are important for experiencing life more fully. For example, endorphins.
Mm-hmm.
It's endogenously produced morphine, essentially. It's the painkiller that you produce when you are experiencing some discomfort or pain. But without having any endorphins, you're not going to experience runner's high. You're not going to experience the sense of being in the flow. Basically, you are often going to be operating at the suboptimal range. What happens when we train at the high level is that we don't try to avoid pain and suffering.
Mm.
We actually recognize that it's a par for the course, and we don't run away from it.
Mm-hmm.
We face it, we mitigate it, we learn how to handle it. Now that's resilience, embodied resilience. It's not something that a lot of people want to expose themselves to because it doesn't sound too appealing. Who wants to feel pain? Who wants to have suffering in their lives, right? But I've never heard of anyone who achieved any degree of enlightenment without having gone through significant suffering. Have you?
Not at all. Me personally, I've got plenty of it.
That's what it takes.
Yeah, it's like stress. We need stress in our lives, right? Even listen, if you're going to lift weights, you're stressing the muscle in order to be able to lift the weight. You got to stress it. There's good stress and there's bad stress. And when you talked about stress earlier, it comes to that resilience part that people, they're stressed because they don't know how to deal with it. Talk to us about, and I'm so happy that I'm part of what you're doing. It's coming up on April 25th through the 27th. Talk to us about World Resilience Summit.
As you said, World Resilience Summit is coming up on April 25th, 26th, and 27th. 3 days of a deep dive into the art and science of learning how to develop stress mastery. Now, I literally coined this term stress mastery because I realized it's not stress management that people need. Stress management is like trying to manage and mitigate stress, trying to often reduce stress or prevent stress or run away from stress. We don't want to run away from stress. We want to master it. How do you master stress? Well, like one of the guys who is probably one of the most resilient individuals on the planet right now, Wim Hof, is known for going into this cold, icy water, literally, immersing himself into unpleasant environment. He's not the only one, not the first one. The Tibetan Lamas, way before him, practiced Tumo for thousands of years. Tumo is the traditional Tibetan Qigong style associated with generation of inner heat. Basically, spending some time in cold environments is not pleasant, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, a lot of folks nowadays are not excited about experiencing anything even remotely close to killing them because it's like, oh, it could kill me? Well, forget it. I'm going somewhere else. Yeah. Yes. Or even if it is unpleasant, like if you tell your students to take cold showers every time they take a shower, just finish it with a cold shower for a minute or two. How many people will actually do it?
It's so interesting. I've been taking cold showers for like, I can't even recall when I started. It's been that long, and I look forward to it. That's the crazy thing, because the cool thing about a cold shower is different than a cold plunge. It's so different because you get into a cold plunge and your body just acclimates really quick. But a cold shower to me is a little different. I'm in New York, so it's cold here. So the cold shower is because you actually almost have to rotate like a rotisserie, if you will, right? In order to get everything done, right? And so for me, it's a shock to the system And it's a beautiful thing because you can stay in it long, but probably 3 minutes is what I do every time. Sometimes I go 4 minutes, um, but you don't. Your body goes into shock, and then all of a sudden you feel so much more alive because you've woken up your entire body. Right? It's a beautiful thing. I love it.
Yes, awakening is what we're here for. We're not here to fall further asleep. We are here for awakening purpose.
Correct.
Awakening in terms of spiritual awakening, in terms of physical body awakening, awakening our physiology, awakening our um, nervous system so that we are not sluggish, we are not wimpy, we are resilient and capable of handling whatever life throws at us. Now, some people say, yeah, okay, you are a commando. You have been through a lot of tough situations. You just used to it.
Right.
And my response is, guess what? Not only did I experience some shitty times in my personal life, but I also overcame PTSD
Mm,
back then when it was not even diagnosed as such.
right.
How did I do it? I instinctively figured out that it's about recreating the unpleasant experiences in your mind. And instead of running away from those dreams, that's essentially what those are, daydreams. But the daydreams that kind of turn into a nightmare of sorts. And instead, facing, just like any psychologist would agree, if you suffer from fear, most efficient way to deal with it is what? Facing it.
That's it.
And as you do that, you become inoculated to stress. That's what I did with myself. I overcame PTSD and I experienced it actually also when I got kidnapped.
Really.
So, yes, I had a bodyguarding company in Ukraine in the early 90s, and a bodyguard got kidnapped himself.
Mm,
I thought, okay, what could possibly go wrong? This is a bodhisattva work.
uh,
I'm saving people's lives. This is something that I really valued. And I thought I was doing okay. But
right.
apparently I was stepping on some people's toes or who knows
Mm,
what. So I got kidnapped, held
mm,
for ransom. And most people would be completely devastated by being kidnapped.
mhm.
I actually managed to overcome that relatively quickly, just continuing awakening to the dreamlike nature of that experience.
Yeah.
I was basically becoming more and more lucid in the dream, realizing, oh, wait, I can turn it into a nightmare on a dime if I so choose. Or
Mm,
if I'm not careful enough and just keep focusing on those things that I dread, that I'm afraid of, that I
mhm.
can't handle, and trying to fret about it. Or I can turn it into a learning opportunity
Yeah.
and learn as much as humanly possible from this dire situation. And then feel grateful for having this experience in my life. Sounds like a really crazy idea to be grateful for being kidnapped, right?
Right.
But that's exactly what I did.
Mm,
I literally transcended the dread or the PTSD or the trauma. So nowadays, people are like, wow, you're one of the most calm and lucid veterans of war, and you're not traumatized even by a kidnapping. I'm like, yeah, I'm a resilient mofo. I know how to do it myself. I can help you develop
that's
the
it.
same.
That's it. That's beautiful. So, Lama, how long were you kidnapped for, and how did you get out of it?
I was kidnapped for 3 days, during which my business partner and that bodyguarding business managed purportedly to sell it.
Mm,
And my portion of the proceeds from the sale served as the ransom.
really?
The
Wow.
tricky thing is that I never seen him ever since.
Mm,
he just vanished, disappeared from my radar. I don't know what happened to him. So there are all kinds of interesting theories and suspicions float around, but again, it's the realm of conjury and hallucination. So I look at it as a dream. Okay, I can focus on the dream that I don't resonate with and turn it into a nightmare.
Right.
But I also have the freedom of choice.
That's right.
And in this particular case, I did not pursue trying to figure out whatever happened. I just simply left and moved to the United States.
There you go. There you go. So
Yeah.
you created a resilience center where you are now. Why did you decide to do a global resilience or world resilience summit? What was that all about?
Well, obviously, it's not the first time I'm organizing a summit. I started organizing summits of Qigong masters since 2012. First one back then on 12/12/12.
Mm.
That was really clever. I thought, oh, that is such an auspicious date. So we held the summit dedicated to conscious human evolution. And back then, video was not easy to organize and broadcast. And so it was all audio. It still was great. It were the 12 Qigong masters coming together in audio and talking about their particular approaches to conscious human evolution. The problem was that it wasn't very well attended. I mean, it was relatively well attended for the first summit ever, like 1,000 people or so. But then I realized maybe conscious human evolution is what I am interested in, and maybe a few other Qigong masters, but it's not the topic that is on top of people's minds and like high priority. Like they don't wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning feeling, damn it, I'm not evolving consciously well enough. So I basically paused my summit organizing activities until 2 years later when I organized the summit on abundance. And actually, it was the first summit on abundance. I also did another one last year, exactly 10 years later. So over the course of these 10 years, I also organized numerous other summits and World Qigong Congresses. And then I started organizing World Tai Chi and Qigong Summits. A friend of mine, Bill Douglas, who's also going to be a presenter at our summit coming up next week. He is a creator or co-founder of World Tai Chi and Qigong Day. So we're actually going to celebrate it during the World Resilience Summit on April 26th, which is going to be dedicated to personal development. And a lot of Qigong teachers will be presenting on that day. There's also another reason I wanted to organize the summit, not just because I don't have anything to do, so I organize the World Qigong Summits. I'm entering a new profession, a relatively new profession, of resilience. Resilience is such a broad field. It can be personal resilience for people who want to develop greater inner strength and vitality and ability to relax under pressure. But then there is also organizational resilience.
Right.
How do you bring that to the teams and companies and other organizations? And how to make them sustainable? And sustainability also can be applied on a broader scale. For example, nations. How do you make a nation sustainable? And both sustainable in terms of financial sustainability, so it doesn't go bankrupt, but also, don't destroy the environment where you live, or don't get into political drama so that it would destroy the society, or other things like that. Basically, we realized, my business partner and I realized that there is so much to resilience field that we cannot figure it all out by ourselves. We need help. And so we started reaching out to other resilience experts. And as we reached out to them, we realized nobody's actually organizing any kind of a online summit like this. There
Mm.
was one World Resilience Summit organized, I think, in 2023 or maybe 22, right after the pandemic. It was a face-to-face kind of a event in Switzerland, but ever since they kind of dropped the ball, so we picked it up and uh, carried on, so to speak. Another thing is that it's a great way to position yourself prominently in this new field.
Mm.
How do you make yourself known in the field where you're relatively new?
Right.
Well, organize other experts and thought leaders and put them under one roof and bring a whole bunch of people interested in the subject matter and see how you, as an organizer, as the MC, as the creator of this event, become basically a thought leader who organizes other thought leaders.
Mm.
Does it make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm so grateful to be part of it. And I know that along the bottom, we have how everybody can join in, right? So join us April 25th through the 27th. When people decide to join, to be part of this global um, experience, if you will, it's a summit. It's how many presenters do you have? I know I'm one of them, but I know I'm
25.
not the only. Oh, 25. So,
Yeah,
um,
2 dozen. In the year
you,
2012, we had 12 presenters.
there you go. So
And
that
then
makes
in year 2014, my next summit had 14 presenters. And 2016, guess how many presenters I had back then?
let me
16.
guess.
Easy math, right? So now 2025, we have 25 presenters. There is a possibility that actually we may have even more
Mm,
because a lot of new presenters are kind of knocking my doors down. Hey, why didn't you invite me?
right, right, right.
Well, there's a possibility we'll include one or more, but we try to maintain quality over quantity approach,
Right.
meaning it's not the number of presenters that's going to make it or break it. It's the quality of the presentations and the entire experience. So over the years, I figured out how to make online summits smooth, effective, enlightening, and also have a long-term effect. So it's not just an event that happens over the course of 3 days and bye. We create an online community of people who are interested in this. Just like last year after World Tai Chi and Qigong Summit, we invited participants to join our online community. Now we have 11,000 strong online community of Tai Chi and Qigong enthusiasts.
Nice.
Well, we expect over 10,000 participants to attend our summit this year. So we are going to create an online community. We also offer additional programs and courses and workshops. I also teach retreats. So after this summit, I'm going to teach embodiment resilient or embodied resilience workshop. Then I'm also going to lead a retreat in the Canary Islands, also on the same subject of embodied resilience, just a deep dive. And over the course of the years, we also invite our experts and presenters to come back to do some Q&A sessions, to do some master classes, to engage participants in online challenges and things like that. Essentially, it creates a movement.
Right.
And with this movement, we can turn our world into a better place.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Wow, what inspiration you are as far as putting all these experts together, creating something so that we have more resilience in the world because we do need it. The world is constantly changing, and if we don't change with it, we're going to get left behind. Like you said, we're going to slide back. Lama, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule because I know how busy you are putting all these things together. I really appreciate you being here with me today. Um, any last words that you can tell somebody about resilience before we head off?
Well, first of all, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you and your work. It's a fantastic work, and having 7 podcasts is incredible. I have one, and that's a lot of work. I started that one in 2009, so it's kind of like I'm more or less rolling with momentum now. It's #1 podcast in the world, and on Qigong. And what I would love to say to our viewers and those who are listening to us without watching is you will not find a better time and better way to enhance your resilience for the purpose of improving the quality of your life than by learning from the world top thought leaders and experts on topic of different types of resilience, different approaches, different ways of implementing resilience in your personal or professional life. But this is going to be a time and energy well spent. So if you have any doubts about it, it's a free admission. Go to worldresiliencesummit.org. Go to resiliencesummit.org. Sign up for the World Resilience Summit. Check it out. If you want to, you can also get a VIP ticket. Of course, VIPs get special treatment. They get access to all the recordings for life. Also get to participate in the panel discussions. Every day of our summit, we'll have panel discussions where we will have our experts discussing between each other, but also being available to answer questions from the audience. And guess who the audience is going to be? It's going to be our VIP participants. And that's something that I think is really beneficial, to have access and ability to network with experts. And last but not least, we also have a special scholarship that we offer to our VIPs. When you purchase the VIP ticket for $197, you will actually get a $200 scholarship, which means your VIP ticket will pay for itself.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that scholarship applies to the embodiment resilience workshop that I'm going to be holding or presenting a week after the summit on May 4th. So basically, the entire VIP experience will be free of charge for you.
Oh, look at that. That's incredible. Love it. Love it. Love it. Everybody do me a
Thank
favor.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. We have it's in the chat. It's also running across the bottom of the screen. This is one way you can click on that link and go ahead and sign up for the summit. I'm one of the presenters, but there are so many incredible presenters that are going to help you understand the true brilliance of being a resilient person in everything that we do in life, in relationships, with family, with business. We need to be more resilient, don't we, Lama?
Absolutely. I wouldn't say better than what you just said. I also want to appreciate you for what you do. This is a fantastic work, fantastic service to our community. So thank you so much for doing it.
My pleasure. Do me a favor, hang on for a minute. Everybody else, share this show with everybody and share the link with everybody so they come and join. It's going to be 10,000 people strong. Let's make it 10,001 with you and 10,002 with your cousins and your neighbors and so forth. Let's not just keep it at 10,000. Let's make it 11,000. Let's do it, people. Have an incredible rest of your day, everybody. Remember, April 25th through the 27th is Resilience. It's World Resilience Summit. Come join us. It's going to be a blast. Thank you. Have a blessed day, everybody.